I'm Jack Kennedy, and they hit a lot harder in my opinion too.
What is up, everybody? My name is Keelan McNamara, and everyone's got a plan until they get hit with my views.
I am Hunter Boss. He just wanted to go to the distance by the looks of it, but he couldn't even do that.
And this is the MMA Island Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. Well, we had a big combat sports weekend. We'll get into Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder in a little bit. We'll talk about, obviously, the UFC main event, and that's what we'll get started with. Let's get started with the news. Marina Rodriguez beat Mackenzie Dern, and Hunter, your streak is over. I was right. I was finally right. We did it. And Keelan wasn't even on the podcast for that one, but it happened. Hunter, what are your thoughts on the main event?
Well, if Keelan wasn't here, then it didn't officially happen.
It did count, yes.
It was a good fight.
Yeah.
It seemed like Mackenzie Dern was never able to really get moving in the fight. She wasn't able to really look like herself out there. But all credit to Marina Rodriguez. She had a fantastic job. Her stand-up was good. She looked tall out there. She looked tall and lanky. She looked big for that weight division. So she could be a problem there. I realized I was not a Marina Rodriguez follower before, but I am now. She was tall. She was lanky. She was able to utilize her range pretty well. She kept the fight on the feet mostly, so that was pretty good for her. And she was even not bad on the ground. I think she gave up a submission attempt too. She tried submitting her at one point. So Marina Rodriguez, fantastic job, and I can't wait to see her again.
Yeah, this was an unbelievable fight. It really was. And I'm sorry I missed the episode where we did the preview for that, but I saw it. Great as always. I was leaning towards Marina Rodriguez. I think the betting odds were very unfair to her, if I'm honest. I think the disparity in the odds was very, very surprising to all of us. But, regardless of who you picked, what a great fight this was. It was absolutely brilliant from beginning to end. I mean, Hunter summarized it very, very well there. Marina Rodriguez looked really, really good. Her boxing and her kickboxing just keeps getting better and better. And Mackenzie Dern isn't a slouch by any means, but Marina Rodriguez looked so comfortable in there. She never looked flustered. She never looked forced to take the shot. She picked her shots really well, moved in and out with that slick footwork, and she just looked really, really good. Mackenzie Dern definitely just could not get into her rhythm at all. One of my big criticisms, well, not big, but one of my points of improvement for Mackenzie Dern has always been that she always needs a round or two or a round and a half to get into her rhythm, to implement her game plan. It's something we've actually said before, all three of us. And the problem is, if she's not given that round, then she really struggles to get into a fight. She can be left outside very, very quickly. And Marina Rodriguez took advantage of that very, very well. Now, credit to Mackenzie Dern. By the fourth round, she started to throw and to get back into it, more out of desperation than anything, but she started to get back into it. The problem is she just didn't leave herself enough time. By that point, Marina Rodriguez was up 3-1. She knew Mackenzie Dern had to get a finish or the fight was hers, and she just didn't get the job done. So massive credit to Marina Rodriguez for such a young woman. She looks so mature in there, so composed, so slick, and so fast. For Mackenzie Dern, I don't think this is necessarily a major sort of bump in the road for her career-wise. I just think she really needs to learn how to pick up the pace and control a fight from the beginning, because her jiu-jitsu in that division is second to none. I don't think anybody would argue otherwise, but she's got a real issue implementing her pace and controlling the fight. So she needs to get that together for her next fight if she wants to stay within title contention. But huge congrats to Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah, Keelan, that's a phenomenal point right there. And what makes Mackenzie Dern so dangerous is the fact that whenever, and why Hunter picked her and said there was a 1 in 6 million chance.
That was coming.
Look, I have to rub it in as much as possible because we don't know when I'm going to be right next. All right. It could be 10 years from now when I get the next pick. So I'm
with it. I'm okay. We got a little turmoil going here.
Yeah, exactly. Till the next one, right? So
the next one.
But what on the flip side of Mackenzie Dern getting off to a slow start, Marina Rodriguez implements her game so well from the get-go. Almost like, and what a lot of the fights, what we're talking about is a matchup between Joanna and Jacek and Marina Rodriguez next, which that would be a phenomenal fight. And they kind of fight in a somewhat similar way. Marina Rodriguez will go forward and she will implement her game plan from the beginning. That's how she beat Amanda Hebos so easily, where no one had been able to do it before. And like she did against Mackenzie Dern. On the podcast, so I was actually wrong about Mackenzie Dern's gas tank. Look, she did slow down a little bit, but not to a crippling extent, and she was still going forward. Now, I was right in the fact that I thought she would be chasing late, and I think I directly said that on the last podcast because of what we were talking about here. Marina Rodriguez is so good at controlling the fight, setting up the rounds. She was up 3-1, and Mackenzie Dern really just it clicked in what she had to do too late. Almost like whenever fighters were fighting Max Holloway or Robert Whittaker, they realized they're down 3-1, 4-1 way too late in the fight. I thought rounds 4 and 5 were fought better by Mackenzie Dern. I still don't think she won those rounds, but at least they were fought better. And that's what she really had to do. If she was able to do that earlier and mix in her takedowns, she probably could have won the fight if she had picked that apart. But like Keelan said, she gets off to a slow start. Marina Rodriguez absolutely took advantage of that. And come 4 and 5, she was just letting her hands go. Her coaches were kind of saying, take it back a little bit, but she was saying no. She was going forward and made a statement. And there's a legit contender at 115 right now. And Marina Rodriguez just proved it right there. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. When I Doctor Strange into the future on the last podcast, that one victory I saw from her would have been a unanimous decision, like the podcast before. So, yeah. I mean, she did a fantastic job, Marina Rodriguez. You got to give it to her. She's so good at implementing her game plan, like you guys said. Her game plan was a smart game plan. Use your range, but also let your hands fly loose if she tries to get close to you. And I like that. It's a great game plan, especially against such a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. So, Marina Rodriguez, she's not only a great striker, she's got a good mind. She's got an iron mind and an iron will. So that's going to take her far in the division.
Yeah, I actually really like that point, Hunter. Marina Rodriguez definitely does not get enough credit for how intelligent of a fighter she 100%. Is. I mean, Rodriguez's mind and especially her team around her, they're very, very cerebral, intelligent people. And they're able to adapt Marina Rodriguez's skills to the opponent that she fights. Now, it just so happens that Amanda Ribas and Mackenzie Dern, they were able to tailor that game plan in the same way, and they were smart enough to know not to change it. Sometimes as well, going into a fight, what people don't realize is that there's a lot of pressure to change a game plan and to fight differently, to somehow try and win differently. The fact that they were actually smart enough to do the simple thing and not change it is something they deserve a lot of credit for too. But I absolutely think at 115 pounds, we have firmly got a new star, Marina Rodriguez. The courage to go out and match Mackenzie Dern, to not be fearful of the takedown, to go out and push her game plan and her mindset on that fight. It's something she deserves so much credit for. And for Mackenzie Dern, this is a case of picking herself up, dusting herself off and getting back to it again. But she needs to take the lessons from this fight and implement them as soon as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing I'll add, you guys nailed it. Is Mackenzie Dern, this is the best time to lose in her career. She's losing to a top-level opponent who very soon could be challenging for the title if wins go her way. She's still so young in her career, and she has the skills to beat anybody in that division, I feel like. And I really feel like even though she did lose this, and this was her first major glaring loss in the UFC, she still can learn so much from this. And she showed that she has the ability to win this fight. And if she can beat Marina Rodriguez the way she's looking, she can beat almost anyone in that weight class. So lots of positives on both sides. Congrats to Marina Rodriguez. And let's move on to the best of the best. And today, very interesting topic. We love this weight class. We talk about it all the time. Who is the dark horse in the men's bantamweight division in the UFC? Hunter, what do you think?
All right, Jack. This is a tough one right here. Okay. I really have to say it. There are 6 former champions in this weight division.
Yeah.
Name just one dark horse. That is a near to impossible task.
That's true.
Well, I'm going to give it to you right now. The dark horse of the bantamweight division is Rob Font. Who else but Rob? Who else but Rob? Let's be honest here. He came out of nowhere. No one saw Rob coming. I still am a huge Cody Garbrandt fan. When he lost to Rob Font, I realized how much of a dark horse this guy is. This guy is the Vicente Luque of the bantamweight division, most definitely. You know, we take a look at Rob Font. We take a look at his fights. We talked about game plan with Marina Rodriguez. No one has a better game plan than Rob Font when he goes into his fights. It's a different fight from him every single time. It's never the same Rob Font we see in the octagon. We see an electrified jab out of him. That is the only thing I think I've seen carry from fight to fight to fight to fight out of Rob Font is his lightning jab and his crisp boxing technique. So the dark horse of the bantamweight division, in my eyes, is Rob Font.
Oh my Lord, I love bantamweight. I really, really love it. You know, we pretty much fight each other on the podcast every time we have to talk about bantamweight. And shock, it's not Corey Sandhagen.
It better not. I was going to say, he's not dark horse.
This might be the first time you didn't use his name in any bantamweight.
This is the first time I'm not actually backing Corey Sandhagen for once. No, I love the Rob Font pick. And by the way, what an amazing comparison, ladies and gentlemen. The Vicente Luque of bantamweight, that is exactly who Rob Font is. But as much as I love Rob Font, it's not Rob Font for me. It's actually a teammate of the current champion. That's right. It's Merab Dvalishvili. And, you know, it's very hard. As Hunter said, I actually think this is one of the very few debates we'll ever have at this moment in time where there's no right and no wrong. Because like 100%. You said, we have got 6 former champions in one division. When has that ever happened? We have 6 former champions. I mean, you can't say anybody's wrong here unless they really say someone who's unranked or Sean O'Malley. Then you're wrong. But
knowing you guys, if we went back in time,
so close.
If we went back in time, if this was filmed at the time of our bantamweight rankings video, you both would have picked Sean O'Malley in this. I mean, let's be honest. So
yeah, I mean, Sean O'Malley might be a dark horse in a decade if he fights someone. But no, at the moment, for me, it's Merab Dvalishvili. And it's Merab Dvalishvili because a lot of people are going to write him off due to what they saw in the Marlon Moraes fight, and especially that first round, which, by the way, I think is probably fight of the year or a very, very strong contender
round
already.
Of the year for sure, yeah.
Definitely round of the year. But Merab Dvalishvili is so tough and so relentless. To me, he's kind of like a more exciting Khabib Nurmagomedov because he lets his hands fly, and when he gets you on the ground, you don't get back up. I mean, Marlon Moraes is no slouch when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he just looked clamped on the ground whenever Merab actually got him down. And then he got the brakes beat off him too after being hurt badly in the first round. For me, I am in no way mad at the Rob Font pick. In fact, I actually really, really like it a lot because I rate Rob Font very highly. But if I'm looking at who's more likely to face Petr Yan or whoever the champion may be and take the belt off him, I think it's Merab Dvalishvili.
Hey, I really like that. And so let me start by saying this. This is one I don't always like going last because Hunter will steal my pick like half the times. And then if he doesn't, then Keelan will. All right. So you took both number 1 and number 2 for me right there. Rob Font, number 1, Merab Dvalishvili, number 2.
Sean O'Malley, 3.
Sean O'Malley's like 25 on my list somewhere back there. But I will say this. I love Rob Font as a pick because of just how good he is and the level of opponents he keeps beating and the fact that no one is talking about him. Even now, he was, I don't know if you guys saw this. He was going to step in and fight Petr Yan if he wasn't on the COVID list. So that just shows you how high, the UFC rates him, but no one else is really talking about Rob Font. And he trains with some killers like Calvin Kattar out of the New England training camp up there. So I love that pick. Merab Dvalishvili, he's a clear number 2 for me. He's almost on the verge of not being a dark horse because he is putting his name out there. And which is also another reason I had him at number 2 because maybe you match him up. Who knows who wins? But as far as dark horse, no one's talking about Rob Font. A lot of people are starting to know. I wouldn't say he's out there yet. He's still a dark horse, Merab Dvalishvili, but that just shows you how good he is and why that is such a good pick. And honestly, if anyone has the making to be a future champion in this division, it would be Merab Dvalishvili in a striker-dominated division that could come up there, take guys down, and dominate on the ground, just maul them. That's a great pick. So let me put my number 3 out there, right? This is going to be my official pick because you guys chose 2 other guys. Jose Aldo, one of the former champions. Look, he's making a resurgence. We keep counting him out, and then he keeps beating. He just beat and destroyed my guy and ruined all of our bantamweight rankings. Pedro Munoz. That episode lives in like infamy now at this point. Everything's been proven wrong. He's just so good. He adapts his fighting style to his age now. And yes, he got absolutely decimated by Petr Yan. But honestly, who's been the toughest challenge for Petr Yan up until this point in his career? It's been Jose Aldo, which is ridiculous to think about when you look at the caliber of fighters Petr Yan has faced. He is arguably the greatest of all time at featherweight. He's come down into bantamweight, keeps getting wins. And honestly, if he keeps up this form, who knows what could happen. But that's another one that no one's really thinking about getting a title shot, but one that's not entirely impossible. He might be 1 fight away, 1 or 2 fights away, considering on how things happen. And he's got the skill set to do it, I think. The moral of the story of this segment is bantamweight is absolutely loaded right now. And there's too many dark horses to name. Even Sean O'Malley, wherever back he is a dark horse at bantamweight if he ever chooses a fight that would get him into the rankings. But yeah,
I thought he was the most colorful with his hair, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. He's Hunter's number 3. He's somewhere on Keelan's list, and he's like 25 on mine. So yeah, lots of good stuff. So let's move on to the discussion of the week. And in this one, we have to talk about the biggest news in combat sports this weekend, which was boxing. And you know what? It was legit boxing. So we all love it. We all love to talk about it. We love the competitors. And Tyson Fury got the win again. And it was phenomenal. What a fight it was. It was really good. Now, of course, we're the MMA Island podcast. How would Tyson Fury do in mixed martial arts? Hunter, what do you think?
He wouldn't do good. He wouldn't do good. I watched that boxing fight. And the amount of times I called for a double leg takedown, it didn't work out.
Look, Wilder went for a couple in there.
I mean, I know, honestly. As funny as it is, I love Tyson Fury, but I think Deontay Wilder would be a better fit for MMA than Tyson Fury.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Now, let me explain why. Tyson Fury, when we talk about the reasons why he's such a great champion right now, it's his pure and undenying ability to perform boxing. Yeah. This isn't, you're not going to go out there, you're going to swing wildly and try to get the knockout punch. No, he has technique beyond many other heavyweights I've seen in a long time. Since like Mike Tyson's time. Mike Tyson, he had such disciplined technique. Tyson Fury has a really good disciplined technique as well. Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, he's not all about technique in this case. He has, Wild is his last name. He's going to be a little bit wild sometimes. He throws out those lunging left hooks. He's knocked out many people with that punch. I think Deontay Wilder moving to MMA could be a really fun sight to see. I think he could do good too, because he's not just strictly disciplined to boxing right now from the way I've seen his striking game has happened. I think Deontay Wilder could be really good in many different matchups. He can be kind of a berserker fighter, maybe a little Yoel Romero. He's a defense until finally the last split second he whips out this gigantic right hook or left hook or uppercut. He could be a fantastic fighter, but Tyson Fury in MMA, don't even get me started.
Yeah, I'm just picturing Wilder's windmills in the octagon. That'd be insane. No, I mean, first of all, huge congratulations to Tyson Fury. That is probably the best heavyweight title fight that I've seen. I would make an argument probably since Tyson Lennox Lewis in 2002.
Wow.
I think it's probably that long ago. People say Joshua Klitschko and Fury, one of the other Fury fights. But if you're talking about like an elite heavyweight title fight, I think you're probably going back that far. Yeah. And that's a testament to Tyson Fury. Now, in response to the question that's been asked, how would he do in MMA? He wouldn't. And that's just the truth. And I love Tyson Fury and I respect his boxing ability beyond any comparable measure. The problem is that mixed martial arts is a different existence to boxing. And you can be the greatest boxer that's ever existed, but James Toney found out the hard way. When you step in the octagon, you're in trouble if you can't stay on your feet. Fighting in an octagon for a boxer is like fighting on ice. The second you slip, you don't get back up again. And the thing is, Tyson Fury's 6'9" or 6'8". I'm not sure what the official measurement is. 277 pounds, and he's just built to be a heavyweight boxer. The problem is as well, every facet of MMA is completely different to what he's so good at. 4-ounce gloves are totally different from 10-ounce gloves. I mean, even a half decent heavyweight, even like an Alexei Oleinik, would just kick the legs out from under him, knock his legs out of commission. He can't get up. He can't move. He can't stay out of range. And what Tyson also has to remember, or would have to remember, I should say, is unlike boxing, there's no clinching and the ref's not going to break it up. The ref's not going to save you until you're on the ground and you're battered and you're bloodied. So realistically, any top 15 heavyweight would be able to clinch Tyson, use knees, use elbows, use uppercuts. And don't get me wrong, Tyson would be good in some areas. The longer the fight's on the feet, the longer he would be good. But even very recently, in fact, I think it was only about 4 or 5 months ago, Tyson Fury called out Francis Ngannou, and he said, we'll fight in an octagon, but it'll just be boxing. We'll use your gloves, but it's solely standing. And that tells you what he himself thinks. So if he's not even going to say it, then there's very little argument to defend him. I'd like to see it, and I actually kind of like the Deontay Wilder argument. The problem with Wilder's time is gone on his side. Wilder's 35 now, and he didn't start boxing till he was 21. So he's literally got no time on his side to learn even basic wrestling, basic jiu-jitsu. Wilder's a street brawler, a very good street brawler, but that's all he is. So Tyson Fury, I'd like to see in the octagon, but he would not win, and it wouldn't even be close.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you guys are absolutely right. And I'll touch on the Wilder Fury argument we're having in a second, because I think that is fascinating. How could I disagree with you guys? Look, I love Fury because he's even keeping it real. Like you said, I'll fight Ngannou, but we're not doing any of the other stuff. We're just standing up. And even that, honestly, look, Fury might be the much better boxer overall, but with 4-ounce gloves, the whole defensive strategy in boxing is completely different than defending striking in MMA because of the glove size difference and everything. If you're putting your hands up like this or whatever, you can still take massive shots. And even if it doesn't land directly, the impact, we've seen people get knocked out with like head kicks or big overhand rights where it does block their hand, but like even like hits into their head. That's just how powerful it is. If you're facing a guy like Ngannou, that could very well happen. The obvious thing is the wrestling. I mean, just he's a boxer. He's a boxer, and he's the best heavyweight boxer in the world currently. But there's no way he would have any chance. If someone just grabbed his ankle, he would fall over, and the fight's done at that point. Because then you have to work your way up. Now, this is where I think it's interesting because you guys touched on you explained it perfectly. The Wilder versus Fury argument: who should fight in the octagon? If we're talking about that, I actually would rather see Fury in the octagon as well. Over Wilder. Now, here's why. One of the things that would be phenomenal for Fury is his cardio. He was very not really getting too much tired as the fight went on. Now, that being said, there's a massive difference between MMA cardio and boxing cardio because you're worried about the box. If someone starts grappling with him, he might be gassed by the second round. But when we're talking about Wilder was gassed after like the 4th round in boxing. So if he starts getting tired like that in MMA, oh my goodness, it's over. The second thing, and my biggest argument at this point, is the size of Wilder's legs. He is so built in the upper body, but his legs have nothing on them. One single calf kick, one single leg kick could honestly end the fight. I really believe that. He's focused so much on his upper body as a boxer. One, I think the takedown defense, look, he is absolutely more athletic than Tyson Fury would be in there. So he might have better instincts, but he would still get taken down. And if someone does 2 leg kicks, especially at that heavyweight division, how powerful are those things? Look, the fight could be over from there. The other thing, like Keelan said, which I think is another great point, is that Tyson Fury, he has I think he has more miles on available left in him to do stuff as compared to Wilder, and with the shots he's taken. So it would be unfortunate, but that's a fascinating topic and great. We have to shout out Tyson Fury. We have to shout out everybody. Great podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. As always, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to us everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. Follow us on Instagram at MMA.island and check out our website, MMAisland.net. Thank you again, everyone, so much for listening. Great podcast, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.